Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michelle Kalis, and I am the provost here at St. Joe's. So it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here. We're thrilled to have you. I'm particularly impressed that it's a Friday at 2 o'clock and a decent day outside, and you chose to be here, but that you avoided going out to the dance party we were having. I thought I was going to have to pull everybody in from the food and the fun that the kids are having. Today is our last day of classes, so the students were celebrating that as they get ready for finals and then commencement in a week. So this grant is so important to the University of St. Joseph. As you all probably know, we went co-ed in 2018, and when we made that decision, we were able to launch some new programs, and our computer science program is an example of that. So the timing of this grant a couple years later to be able to have the funds to support some of the exciting work that our faculty are doing to help support our students was ideal for us, and I know they've leveraged this grant tremendously, and we've enjoyed the partnerships with the companies that they're working with. And we promise, for those of you who are employers out there, that we're ramping up and we're going to be producing lots of graduates in the coming years. So look forward to that. St. Joe's has really changed a lot since we went co-ed, and we're very proud of that. The latest exciting development that I could tell you about is we are starting an engineering science program in the fall. And we're trying to respond to the workforce need for engineers. And this is a general engineering degree, not with the specialties, but we hope to attract a diverse group of students to become interested in engineering and move into the workforce in Connecticut. The vast majority of our students are from Connecticut and remain here, so we are very excited about that. Lots of other exciting news, but I won't go on and on about St. Joe's. I'll let you all get to that the very important work that you have. And again, we appreciate the support, and we thank you all for being here. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much to the University of St. Joseph's. Thank you, Provost Kellis and Dr. Zoe, for having us and hosting us today. My name is Katie Singer. I'm the Director of Policy and Research at the New England Board of Higher Education. I've met many of you over the last year plus, but I know there's a couple of new faces here, so I thought I would say that. And then also, on behalf of myself at the New England Board of Higher Education and the Business Higher Education Forum, we're just really happy to be here to have both our industry champions as well as our grantees. So I'm not going to spend a long time in an introduction here. I'm going to pass it off to my counterpart, Candace Williams, for the start of the session.
All right. Well, it's great to see you all in person on such a beautiful May afternoon. Thank you so much for having us. This is my first time at St. Joe's, so it's really great to see the campus. Today we wanted to bring faculty behind the scenes in some of the companies in Connecticut in terms of how they handle tech challenges and opportunities as a way to inspire some of your curriculum and the way that you approach sort of a career advisement with your students as well. So we've invited Jeff Ocker, Associate Vice President and Head of Innovation and Delivery from Infosys, as well as Cherie Griffith-Dunn, President and Founder of CDG and CYPROTECK, and Bruce Schumann, the Chief Digital and Customer Experience Officer at the Hartford. So we know that organizations of all types encounter complicated technology challenges and opportunities that can include integrating new systems, dealing with cybersecurity threats, implementing AI tools, and the list goes on and on. So we want to hear more from our panelists about how they harness these opportunities, how they deal with some of these challenges, and what role tech talent plays in that equation. So I have a few questions for our panelists, and then I'll turn it over to you all to also dig in with them. But to get us started, I'm going to invite each panelist to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your company, and then identify the top 3 challenges you all are facing or working on, whether at your company or in partnership with your clients. And I'll have Jeff kick it off.
Oh, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Hawker. I run the local Infosys office. And for those of you that know or don't know us, we're one of the largest tech services companies in the world. Indian heritage, about 400,000 people, been around for 40 years now, just celebrating that anniversary. And a few years back, we looked at where our business was and where it was going. And while the bulk of our revenue still comes from your traditional globalization outsourcing models, absolutely, the growth is in a completely different area. Even 6-7 years ago, we saw it in data and AI and cloud. And you don't do that remotely very well. You don't do that completely remotely. So Infosys embarked on a program to really push the folks and the training and the staffing out globally and get elements of our delivery much closer to our clients. For some reason, for some cases that's required by law. If you're doing federal work, if you're doing healthcare, if you're doing banking, things like that. But frankly, it's just a better way of doing business. The robots aren't just giving you information anymore. They're making the decisions. They're guiding you on things. People that are doing the coding of these things should understand the culture and the context that they're working in. So that's kind of my mission. And we've opened 6 different hubs around the country, Hartford being one of them. The idea was, we still compete in Austin and Seattle and New York and, all the places you have Bay Area where you do. But where we invest are places where we have a whole lot of smart people and a whole lot of great institutions for training and education, and where we can help kind of steer and guide, because the folks that we serve, the folks over here, they come to us when they can't get enough of something. So top 3 challenges, numbers, my God, more people, just keep them coming. There's this thing there. In terms of talent, we can get into this more. It's not nearly as clear as it was a few years ago. The tools change rapidly. I go back and forth between advising non-degree holders, degree holders, and then advanced degree holders. There's some stuff, frankly, you need a degree. You need to understand the systems. You need to understand how it all fits together, because the tool's going to change tomorrow if it hasn't already changed today. So that defining from our end what we're looking for from a training program is a little tough right now. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that goes. And then the third thing is just doing it at scale. We participate in programs where we get 5-10 people here and there, but realize we have 40,000 people in the U.S. Our monthly hiring around the country can be upwards of 2,000. So everything we figure out, we got to do it big, and that's what's been driving us.
Thanks, Jeff. Cherie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your companies, and the top 3 challenges that you're working to solve?
Sure. Cherie Griffith-Dunn. I am the founder of CDG LLC. That part of my company, we do business intelligence, IT integration, and professional training for the government, i.e. The Veterans Affairs, as well as Department of Energy and NASA. A year and a half ago, we created a technology. It's a security dashboard that can sit on any company's current security that allows them to see a 360 visibility within their structure. We're primarily in the energy and government and healthcare sector. We have been working around the clock to skill up people. I would say our 3 biggest challenges we have is not that there's not enough people. So there's enough people. It's training them efficiently and with the right skills that they need to learn in order to walk in the door doing the job. That is one of our biggest issues. And then I would say the other is keeping up with the changing landscape. So the landscape is changing every day, you guys. AI is a threat and a blessing in the same breath. And so now we're training people in AI analytics because it's becoming a big part of what we do in cybersecurity, and ensuring that we're staying one step ahead of the bad actors out there. And then I would say the third challenge that we have is opening up enough locations, because when you're in high-touch industries, you have to have a hub in each one of those locations. And so we currently are here in Connecticut, we're in Florida, because we have to house people in those sectors so that we can't be more than 45 minutes away from the institution that we support, unless we have a contract with them that is completely virtual and global. And so we have been training people and creating security hubs within their homes for certain pieces of the job that we're being able to do that. We've been able to really create a really great remote program for people that keeps them engaged, involved, and keeps us secure, as well as our customers. And so that costs with research and development. So we're constantly evolving, doing research and development, and so that we can continue to increase our product and continue to secure the infrastructure of our clients. So I would say that's probably the largest challenge that we have, is really securing our people to make sure that we can secure our customers and getting them upskilled fast enough in order to do that. So programs like these that you guys have in schools, one of the things that we've been doing is kind of working with the professors and kind of looking at the curriculum so that we can say, okay, hey, at year one, we can get these guys in here as an intern and they can actually be working on XYZ. Getting them into our we have a cyber innovative lab that we created. So getting them involved so that they're creating products and technology and helping us do the research and development in year two that they're in the program. So really giving them the ability to walk out of college with hands-on experience and the ability to walk into a job seamlessly, whether it's still with our company or with any other company. So that's part of our mission and what it is that we're trying to do and why we like working with universities like this.
Awesome, thank you. And Bruce?
Yep. My name's Bruce Schumann. I work for the company just down the street, the Hartford. When I think about the challenges that we're facing, and I'm responsible for digital and customer experience, so I'll spend a minute on that as well, but I want to get to the challenges because I think it echoes what both of my colleagues here have talked about. You can't sit in a room like this in these days, and I would assume our competitors are wrestling with the same thing without this notion of disruptive technologies coming in. And it's not so much the technology so much, it's figuring out how is it going to be accretive to the business. What are the use cases? How are we going to use the technology to make us better, more effective, more efficient? So that's one. And I saw some stat around ChatGPT and how fast it became available. And I think of that as a moment in time. There will be something else that will come even faster and faster. I think the accelerating pace of technical change is certainly keeping us on our toes, and it's figuring out how do we ingest these capabilities, how do we use them to service our customers, make better products, things of that nature. So that's probably one of our primary challenges. The second challenge I would maybe point to, and it's a little bit around what they brought me into the company, is our expectations as consumers are really changing dramatically. We expect it now, we expect it faster, we expect it to always be on. A lot of people have coined the term the Amazonian effect. Mm-hmm. And in a business that is primarily based on a relationship, it's kind of an interesting time. It's actually a fun time to be in insurance these days, and I don't know that you would hear other people talk that way. I think insurance versus fun, but it's interesting in that there's so much disruption. There's so many companies that are rethinking how is insurance bought and sold? What's the distribution model? How do we do things so that it's easier for either our brokers to get access to us or our end customers? And so I would call one of the challenges around the consumerization of insurance, that the old model was you went to go see an agent and the agent may take a couple of days to get back to you. People have a completely different set of expectations around that these days. So we're trying to stay very contemporary in our thinking in terms of what do our policyholders want, what do our agents need, things of that nature. It's a really interesting paradigm because juxtaposed to all of that is a very, very rich and deep history of legacy environment. Think big systems that have been in place with lots and lots of data. So we want to go faster, we want to be clearer, we want to be easier, but we do have this anchor, I would describe, in terms of the environment that we're in, where cyber is just as prevalent, cyber threats are just as prevalent as us. You have people like me that are really pushing us to think contemporary in terms of the experience that we want to provide to our customers. You can't lose sight of underpinning the whole thing, our big policy admin claim systems that really drive, what we're able to do. So I'd say those are our 3 challenges.
Just small challenges.
Smaller challenges, yeah.
No big deal. Well, that
And
was
it all on one street. It's
Yeah.
I know, seriously, all just down the street.
amazing. That was a great overview into what each of you are working on at a high level. I think for the benefit of your peers in the room and for the faculty who are working to train students to hopefully work at your companies or companies like yours, we'd love to hear about how exactly you deal with these challenges in terms of the types of processes you use internally, the resources you need to bring to bear, what sort of external context is really significant, although you've touched on that, and from there, sort of the long-term impact of the one challenge that you want to speak to here. And I hate to keep going in the same order. That's sort
Brush it
of
up. You can go back to
boring.
it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can snake around.
Yeah.
But Jeff, you seem...
Yeah, I'll go. I don't think I think there's a distinction in, say, scale between the things that I would be hitting and startups are hitting. I mean, this seems to resonate, but I think they're all similar. The 3 biggest things. So yeah, we're still recovering from COVID. Where do tech workers work? What is a tech worker versus a designer? Why do, if I'm gonna make my new people come in because I know being in an office is good for them, but I can't make my senior people come in because, they'll go somewhere else, but my new people aren't benefiting from my senior people because I can only get new people to come in and stay. I don't know what to do. I run a facility downtown for tech people. That's huge. We still haven't figured that out, and that is real. And I mean, it's broader than, it hits the workforce, but I think, what a work day looks like for a tech worker is still settling in. AI, from a hiring standpoint, was horribly timed. And here's why. You come out of COVID, CIOs, they've got their top 10, top 15 initiatives that they've got going, right? They're going to get 3 in a good year. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah. There's lots of things like before COVID. We should really upgrade our web conferencing services. Microsoft 365, that online version, the green screen was fun. Well, everybody had to drop everything they were doing and spend all their money on making their company remote ready and virtual. All right, so then they're like, all right, we're coming out of it, all those things that have dropped down on the list, there's spend that has to happen, there's discretionary spend we want to do. We've talked about it with our board as a CIO, board's in line, we're going to get out of this, we're going to do that. What are we doing with AI? What the hell? Like what? Okay, take that plan, throw it aside, now throw in an additional investment of infinite money into people that don't exist now. And what are we doing on it? Those conversations are tough. So what is it the CIOs are looking for is still disrupted. And frankly, one of the bigger pieces that we've been hitting lately is companies, like either of these, have come to us and rightly asked, and they've come to platform providers, Salesforce, Workday, all that. For, 30 years? You've been telling me I got to spend a whole lot of money to upgrade my system so I can take advantage of that next technology when it gets here, right? That next digital experience that Bruce is demanding. All right, well, I'll keep doing that. Hey, AI's here. Oh yeah, all that stuff you did in the cloud, redo that, redo this. And people are like, so now we don't know what the future of work looks like quite yet. We can't stop it. We don't know what to invest in quite, and we have a backlog of stuff that needs to be fixed. It's tough. And, so I bring that up only to say this is what we're facing. So if we seem a little wishy-washy from the business point of view, we're trying. We'd love to hear. I got to hear what will the kids do? I mean, what kind of environment will they tolerate? We don't know. We don't. I mean, I look in here, I know I'm too old to figure that out. But that's what we've been facing.
Thank you. Thanks. Sherry, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so a company filled with millennials. We kind of see things a little different. They do not want to come into work, but we can engage them in quarterly events and bringing them together and having a good time. And so that gives them their interaction for sure. But you're right, we are in the process, my company, we have, the females in our company have entered into the first Microsoft AI Women Hackathon that's happening in June. So that will tell you what it is that we're doing. We're constantly having to stay ahead of, the technology that's coming and what's happening. And, I always like to say I'm not just the face of my company, I am also certified in way too many things. Because you have to understand where the market is going and the trends so that you're able to direct your company and help direct, your next group of workforce coming in. It has been a struggle with AI. A lot of our customers are afraid of it. They want to bring it in, but it's expensive. You have Microsoft, which is a huge conglomerate who purchased ChatGPT. Now they have Copilot, offering some sentiment of privacy when you're searching. But you still have the threat of how far will AI go if you are not truly controlling the back end of it. Because one wrong code, one wrong word, one wrong period, and it changes how this AI manufactures and works. And it can take it from being kind to evil. And so you always have to be ahead of that. But for us, the way that we've been working is really making sure that research and development is at the forefront. And before, research and development was usually 3% of a company's budget. It's something we're thinking about, we're not really gonna implement it, but it's something that we have to stay abreast of and make sure that we are definitely adding into our company. So it's expensive because we have to figure out ways to do that. And so one of the ways that we figured out how to do our research and development on someone else's dime and help and be an impact is we work with SBIR. And so we do different grant programs and technology accelerator white papers and programs with NASA. We've done it with Department of Defense. We've done hackathons for J9, which is right under the president, and seeing what we can do to help protect the White House and understanding what their technology is. And so it's now taking all of these processes that other companies are fighting against and putting into our house, right? So now every day, what do our employees have to do? They have to make sure that they're secure. So we always like to say we're kind of that stop, drop, and roll, right? You heard of, we look at emergency response teams. Well, we have emergency incident response teams, and we have to make sure that they're ready for whatever comes for them. So we have their little tool bag packed for them at all times so that they understand, is my Wi-Fi strong? Where am I at? Am I in a safe place? Is it secure? There's all of these different components that you have to now embed into these individuals who are working from home, because they're not always safe if they're not in a secure location. And so we make sure that they're following these guidelines and these processes so that we can make sure that our customers are feeling just as comfortable as our employees are, because they're concerned as well, right? You think about someone that graduates college, they get this degree, and they have this big job. It's cybersecurity. Oh my gosh. You have access to everything, absolutely everything. And so how do you make that employee feel comfortable enough to do their job securely and safely and want to learn more, right? Not just do the job, right? So we have our JDs, our job descriptions, but can we get you to really put that down and do what you know you're supposed to do more? And how do you make them feel comfortable to do that? So that's what we gravitate with every single day, is in regards to that when we think about cybersecurity and keeping people safe. So yeah, that's what we got.
Sounds like you're really focusing on a culture of security, but also a culture of curiosity, to be ahead of the curve wherever
Absolutely.
possible.
And it's listening, right? Because they can make the next best thing, you guys. Like some of you guys have employees right now who can really create the answers to all the questions that we have. It's a matter of giving them empowering them to have that voice to speak up. And so that for us, because we're innovators and we're constantly creating things, we have our Sapphire 2.0, and so that's our robot. So all of you guys, I'm sure, will start to have, bots that you're creating. But one of our interns created that for us because we allowed them, empowered them to actually do that. And this iBot actually will onboard you, not only as an employee, make sure that you have had your fingerprints done, they'll do a background check on you, they do all the searching, make you feel comfortable, they support you, but they also help onboard our customers as well. So when you think about that customer journey and what does it look like, what does the future look like? It's Sapphire 2.0.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bruce, can you bring us behind the scenes on one of your top challenges at the
I mean, I know we've talked about the robots are coming, and at some point it'll all be automated. But today we still live in a world where being able to take an immense amount of information, consolidate it down so that it's easy to understand, either whether we're talking to a customer or a claimant or a broker or more increasingly an underwriter, that is a real skill set. People that understand how to take complex concepts, information, and conceptualize it so that we can all make better, easier, faster decisions is a real, I say, challenge for us as well as an opportunity. We're increasingly investing in and looking for talented folks that know how to use a variety of different techniques to make what can be an incredibly complicated, certainly highly regulated environment, boil it down to just the essence so that people can make faster and better decisions. We have the same challenges that you guys have talked about in terms of, and we're going through it right now, the return to office, and COVID was an opportunity for us. We were no longer bound in terms of the office, so it allowed us to go outside of Connecticut for hiring design talent, people that know how to use different techniques, animation, and we're trying increasingly to bring back the in-office presence, so we have all the same tension that you guys described in terms of, well, why do I have to sit here? I'm a creative person. I'm best at home or in my own space. I don't want to be around an office environment. But I think increasingly we're finding, when you sit close to your customer, so in the case of where you're designing something for an underwriter or an actuarial individual, it's better if you're sitting side by side. You can iterate faster. You can come to the conclusion faster. We're finding that helps us to be more effective, but that tension still remains, and it will be interesting to see how the next couple of years play out in terms of the office environment. But if I had to point to a specific challenge, I would point to that. It's really getting people's mind around. We have the same challenges in a risk-based environment that any consumer packaged goods, any media and entertainment company have. And it's how do you make something compelling, easy to digest and understand. Oftentimes we're interacting with people when they're at their worst in a claim environment and they want immediate and easy access to information. How do you make that simple, such that they're not scrolling or they're having to tab through different screens, et cetera? So that would be the biggest challenge I would point to, is just easy and fast access to people that can creatively problem solve.
Great. So, Cherie, I think you segued really nicely into a question that I had for the three of you, which is knowing that the students represented by the faculty in this room, some of them are young people who are digital natives and are just really adept with technology. Some of them are career switchers, and they have a lot of experience that translates well into tech roles. How do you really harness either those sort of native skills, those fresh ideas to confront these types of challenges?
So I don't know if you guys, you guys might do this as corporate. We take a personality test. So we truly believe that who you are is who you are. But understanding who you are allows us to work better with you and put you in the place where you're going to thrive. And so when you talk about students that are coming in and they're trying to figure it out. They have this skill set, but it just may not be it. And so through this personality test, it's done through AI, which is fabulous. It allows us to actually say that this individual works best by themselves, works best in a team, is a leader, is someone who maybe is content driven. They need to have more time before they switch and change and make decisions. That helps you really empower that individual to do what they need to do to help you. Because it's all about, at the end of the day, we all win when the company wins. But it's the people that are driving that win. And so how do we help them become the best person that they can be to really drive those results? And so we've found amazing results from that, where people have been able to come in and say, we've had some engineers who go, software engineer, I'm excellent at this, is what I've been doing. And then now they decided that they wanted to switch into our research and development. They didn't want to work in the back office. They don't want to do coding. It's something they thought they loved, but it doesn't fire them up. And so really getting people fired up and putting them in the positions where they can work and do their best work helps us and allows us to provide a stronger product and a better customer service experience for our customers. So yeah, I mean, and I also think that it takes time. It takes working with the schools and meeting with them and seeing them. And I always say, if there's professors in here, whatever, let your people know that your social media matters to the point where we look at that.
Yeah.
And it is a big decision. It drives our decision on who we want in our company and representing us, and because it has to have a trust factor.
Yeah.
And if we don't already trust what you're putting out there, we can't trust you in-house. And so, yeah, I think all of that combined with letting them really have that opportunity to voice their opinion, but also teaching them to understand feedback. Mm-hmm. Because I may not like your experience today or your feedback today, but we might use it down the line. And so we always have a board that we go back and visit fresh, ideas, our innovative board. Because someone can come up with a great idea, it just doesn't fit the model today. Mm-hmm. But that shouldn't deter that person from saying, I don't want to work here anymore because you're not hearing me. Mm-hmm. So it's a balance, as CEOs, and you got to hire the right people too, right? As leaders, to help really drive that in the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to build on that for just a second, because it's interesting. Because we just did this yesterday, because increasingly as we get younger folks into the organization, it's a complicated environment. It's a corporate environment. There's all kinds of stated protocols. There are unstated protocols. I think some of the younger folks, and you add the dimension of when do I need to be in the office? Mm-hmm. When can I have the flexibility to not be into the office? So it's incredibly confusing. We just did something yesterday where we talked about what does good look like in terms of somebody coming in right from school and trying to navigate, certainly my company. So we had some examples and we talked through some scenarios so that people could start to see what does somebody look like that has successfully navigated their career? What are the choices that they've made? And I think a lot of folks have the perception that every move that I make has to increase levels of responsibility. And there was a lot of conversation around further developing, maybe sometimes laterally, maybe taking a step back to get a skill set that you don't necessarily have. And it was a little bit of an eye-opener for the crew around not everybody comes in and keeps thinking about the peg moving up the board. And it was just nice to have some examples of what does that look like when you take maybe a step back or a step to the side.
Yeah,
so you're mapping your employee experience probably similar how you would your user experience.
That's exactly right.
That's
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think trust is an interesting theme because I think it's a big part of TTA and why partnerships between business and institutions are so important. Understanding each other generates trust in a student's ability to be successful in an internship or in a job. And so it's interesting to carry that theme through to the employee experience or the experience of being a leader looking for new talent.
Hello, everyone. I think we're going to go ahead and get started again. Thank you all to the panelists today. It was an amazing. Thank you so much, Bruce. Our next session, you'll get a chance at this community practice to hear from our brand new grantees who got the reward this year. And so we have a presentation, a short presentation from each of the new grantees for the Tech Talent Accelerator. And I've been told that they know the order of the presentations, but we're going to start off today with Albertus Magnus, and he's right here. I'll let Bill take over and introduce himself.
Yeah, I told Leslie I've spent my life as an anescoach at the head of every line, so I won't take offense. And now I work at Albertus, so it's fine to school with a Z. My name is Bill Anaskevich. I'm the dean of the business school at Albertus. I was actually conscribed to this. I wasn't supposed to be the presenter today, but Rosa couldn't be here. I have no show. I'm all tell, so there'll be no fancy slides. I'm going to sort of just try and summarize our experience to date along the lines that were given to us in terms of the prompts. Our applied data science certificate addresses a need for focused training in workplace applications in the biopharma industry. That's sort of been the primary focus of our efforts. In terms of how we're going to address that need, we have partnered with the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, and through the chamber, we will offer a certificate program in which students will earn a credential after completing 3 non-credit bearing courses over a 12-week period. So, if you will, 3 4-week mods within our modular system. The program will be open to currently enrolled students as well as employees at our partner institutions, and we are going to finally roll out the program in August, our fall term, which starts August 26th. So we're pretty excited about that. I want to focus, though, on, because I think that this may have some relevance to others, is the sort of challenges that we had, both in terms of engaging our business partners, plural, and in developing the program. I'll start with the sort of how do we engage business partner question. We found, and it's interesting because a lot of what we just heard, I think, is consistent with this. We found that the most effective way to engage our business partners was to give them the opportunity to help shape the content and the format of the program. We went in with then a 5-course, 40-week applied data science certificate proposal, and they took it apart with dispatch. They said no one is going to wait 40 weeks for you to get this done, and so we went from that 5-course 40-week program to a 3-course 12-week program pretty quickly. So in terms of format, they felt like they were having some real sort of impact on what we were building. One of the challenges for us was that the chamber is a warehouse, if you will. And so it wasn't like the chamber was going to sit down and actually help us build out content. So we had to sort of burn through the old-fashioned way, roll up our sleeves, get our electronic Rolodexes out, and just call people in the industry and ask them to come help us build that. And it wasn't until we were able to sort of burn through and get some people at the table, enticing them to the table by offering them the opportunity to build the program effectively with us, that we got that going. I will say that we used our, again, to some of the things that we just heard, we have a pretty robust business school advisory board. We've got 14 pretty high-level CEOs and COOs. We enlisted their support in reaching out to the biopharma industry and finding us partners and individuals with whom we could speak substantively. I think one of the things that came through also in terms of those discussions was the need to be flexible. A shorter certificate program will allow us the flexibility to switch as the pace of technology changes. What a data science certificate looks like today is going to be something completely different in a year, is our guess, and so shorter we hope is better. That is my tell, and that is my show, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Well, so Leslie created you paper handouts that have notes. So if you have questions for specifically Bill, you want to jot them down. We're going to have an open Q&A at the very end of all the presentations. Okay. Charter Oak.
We're a panel now.
That's right. You want to start since you're going to be talking about
Okay.
or should we sit or?
Nah.
It's up to you.
Nah.
Would you like to?
I can stay.
Yeah.
Only a minute. Okay, yeah, so we'll talk about the Cyber Ready program that we're doing here at Charter Oak State College. You want to go into, we'll cover the curriculum and then go next?
There you go.
All right, so basically what we're doing is we're taking the Google Cybersecurity curriculum from Coursera. We're a Coursera Career Academy partner. And their certificate program, and we really are using that as like the textbook and software for the first 4 courses in our cybersecurity program, and we created a Cyber Fundamentals certificate. So, and once students have gone through these 4 courses, Fundamentals, Network and Incident Response, Operating Systems, they'll then be eligible to sit for the CompTIA Security Plus, industry recognized credential.
Okay, slide got a little messed up, don't know how, but at any rate, so talking about going off some of the comments that we heard earlier about wraparound services, this is a big part of what we're doing as well. So what we've used our TTA money for was actually the courses that Dave talked about, but what we've now been able to do is to leverage additional funding to really make this grant work. So we were able to get a Good Jobs Challenge grant, which is being able to pay for actually having 25 students, a cohort of 25 students in our program. It's paying for them entirely, but it's also paying for wraparound support services too. So what we've done is we've learned some lessons from our Career Connect grant that we had, and we're kind of replicating that. So we are hiring a career and academic navigator. So the person that everyone's talking about in here to be able to talk to students about the things that they're going to need in order to do job interviewing and resume building and networking and all those other types of things. So thank you all for your feedback, and that we're going to incorporate all of those things. We're also providing free laptops as well. Since all of our training is 100% online, we want to make sure that there's digital equity so that we have everyone is getting a free laptop. And then we are also able to work with our Charter Oak State College Foundation and provide support for the actual exam. So one of the things we wrote into the grant was actually a prep course for the Security Plus exam, so that they'll be really able to do well and pass that. But then for students who can't afford to take the exam, we're going to be supplementing that with money from our foundation. So it's really a nice wraparound support that we have. So let me turn it now to Bob. And one of the things that I would just say is that we have had no difficulty engaging our partner travelers. They've been really a great partner for us. But a lot of the things that we talked about as well in terms of having them review curriculum and things like that has been exceptionally helpful. So,
yeah, I won't go too long on the industry need. I think the panel covered that this morning, and really, not everybody's going to be that frontline hacker defender on Sure East company there, but I think that's what I see when I interview interns at entry level. They're all like, well, I took the ethical hacking. I've been, I know how to do forensics, but it's that broad piece, the other part of cyber that they don't show in the movies that we want to see more of, the governance, the risk, the network security, and even employee awareness is huge, right? So that's kind of what I think we'll look at in the second tier, right, beyond the basics. And I think, talking about our internship program, I think it was Bruce who mentioned the Hartford's one. We're very similar, right? We have an engineering development program. Our applications open in August, September for our interns, and we have two classes of entry level. It's not just students out of traditional college, but it's anybody, non-traditional students. If you've just finished a certificate program, another degree program, or any boot camp, right? You're eligible for those entry level, even if it's a second career. And they start in January and June, so they're open in like March for January and September for June. So that's kind of our direction, but I'm looking for passion, right? I want the students to be passionate about cybersecurity, because if you're not passionate, you're not going to survive this career. And you look like me after 25 years. Terrible.
Yeah, and the great thing about TTA is that if you think about it, we looked at this revamping our cyber program as kind of like a startup. And TTA was provided the first level of capital, then went into the Good Jobs Challenge money, and so it's success begets success. And then also because we're now going to be applying by May 24th for the NIST RAMPS grant, and we're really following, we have it where this is what TTA did, this is what Good Jobs did, and this is how we're going to piggyback off of that for the next grant to go ahead and then do the rest of the courses within our cyber program using that stackable credential model. So we're just really thankful for this, because while you say, okay, this amount of money is not a huge amount of money, no, it's not up front, but if you look at it as part of a long game, it can actually get us there to where we need to be. That's it. Great.
Okay, Lisa Lankor from Southern Connecticut State University. Our program is called the CLOUD program. It's this crazy acronym that is a cloud computing certificate of learning occurring in an undergraduate degree. It was late at night when we came up with that. And our goal was to embed the AWS Cloud Computing certs as credit into our bachelor's. We have a couple different concentrations. So the concentration we're working towards is in our information systems program. It just has more flexibility. Our other program is ABET accredited. Even to put that professional development course in, we had to put it as an elective. There's just no room to fit everything in 120 credits. And then we wanted to develop an undergraduate certificate in cloud computing that incorporates these industry recognized credentials into our credit-bearing program. So that was part of that. Our team is me, Dr. Antonios, Imad Antonios, Hao Wu, and our industry expert is Vico. I don't know if he's still here. He's from Ansera, and he has a bunch of these certifications. He knows our curriculum. He's taught in our program, and he's like always our go-to person. So he's at all of our meetings and has provided enormous information for us. It's not a big company, so we don't see a lot of students getting placed into the company, but he's really just our expert, our go-to. So this is how we started out. We went to the AWS reInvent in Vegas. I think Imad and I were the only two people who didn't gamble at all that whole weekend. I did put $20 in a slot machine and lost horribly in about 2 minutes. One of the things we got to do at this reInvent, this is their giant conference that they hold annually. We were able to meet with the AWS Global Education team, and if you can see here, one of our speakers was Tekla, and while I was in Vegas, she was the guest speaker for the TTA, so that was very cool. We got a lot of great information at this conference. It was the first conference we went to that wasn't an academic conference. I was blown away. I mean, we sat down at these big keynotes, and there's like carts with beer coming around in their hand, and we're like, what is this? So anyway, what we were blown away with was how many different domains that AWS was involved with. So here's just this is financial services. So all of these companies are using AWS. Here's the healthcare and life science leaders. So all of these companies using AWS Cloud. And then this is all car manufacturing. And so we're just like, oh my God. So we heard all these speakers and we're like, this is such an opportunity for our students. We have to keep going forward with this. And we have to come up to speed. So We then dove into the AWS ecosystem, and there's all these different routes that you can go. They all are starting with a cloud practitioner, and then lots of different options. And so Vico was he holds a lot of these, and he's like, okay, I think you got to go with the solutions architect first. That's going to lead into a bunch of other things. So he's been the person directing us for all of these different possible tracks that students could have. We also had to understand our CSCU, being part of the CSCU, the credit for prior learning policy. So how do we take previous learning and allow that to count for credit into our program? And I know that was covered in the very first meeting of TTA for this cohort. So that was really helpful. And so we found that CSCU uses the ACE network, so the American Council on Education. And so we started our first dive into that, like, I'm just going to search for AWS. What's already in there? Then we don't have to do a lot of this work. We could just, if they say it's 3 credits, we'll put it as 3 credits into our program. So out of all those certs, we only found 2. So the solutions architect professional, and it says 3 credits right there. So we're like, that saves us a little bit of work. So that's good. So the 2 that we found were the AWS solutions architect, both the associate and the professional, but none of the others. So then we were like, okay, what are we going to do? So now we're figuring out what are the credit equivalents for these other certifications. Okay, so how do we fit this all into our curriculum? So the idea here is someone comes from a program or they just get the certification on their own, they can come to Southern and we could say, hey, you just got 3 credits into our computer science program. This is all, I don't know, a lot of you are in academia and this is not an easy thing to do. I know it sounds very easy, but it's not. But we're getting it done. So we wanted to build something that was modularized, not just for cloud, but that we could also plug something in for whatever the next specialization is. So cybersecurity. So we were thinking of this in terms of modules. So in our program, we are in this particular computer information systems program. There are 3 elective credits. 3 courses, so 9 credits, up to actually 12 credits, because the BIS 370 is a prereq for a lot of these. So we're sending our students off to the School of Business and saying, take all of these courses, and that's going to round out your degree as a cognate. And then we're like, wait, we want to take them back, and we'll use the certifications as credit. So we were kind of looking at these levels. If someone came in with a professional level, that would be at the 300 level of transfer. So we had to work with the registrar's office. What course numbers are? So it's very complicated, although it looks simple right there, but we're getting it done. So someone with a specialist level would come in with elective credits, we're not sure how many, at the 400 level for that. And this could work if we were to do the cybersecurity, right? We would just plug in this other option, and we would have this for cyber and whatever the next thing. If it's AI, we could do something in that respect as well. So it's still a work in progress. So then we started looking at, we got all these KSAs from you guys, and so that was very helpful. So we're saying, okay, where are all these certification learning outcomes going to map into the KSAs that we're getting from industry? And so we started doing that, and we're like, whoa, wait, hold up. We have to take our own curriculum and map our curriculum to the KSAs, because we want to make sure that our students are going to have the skills that industry's saying that they want. So we did a whole exercise. We gave Vico a couple of weeks off, and we say, you don't have to come to these. We're going to just be digging into our own curriculum, but we're going to need you for all the other columns that are empty there. So that's kind of where we are right now. What I want to end with is some of the offshoots of these things, because I think the TTA and the networking that happens, all of you in this room, and also being able to go to this conference. So I shared with the team when I was giving them an update. So after meeting with the AWS Global Education team, I posted it on LinkedIn. We had a lot of impressions, And I got this email, this message through LinkedIn from one of our grads. It's like, hey, Professor Lisa, this is great news. Let me know if you could help with anything. So he has all these certifications. So great news is in June, we're going to be offering some of the AWS certs that he's going to be teaching. So now one of our grads is teaching the AWS cert. It doesn't have to take ours, could take anyone else's. And then those credits can come right into our program. And then we're trying to build an undergraduate certificate. And then you can make these stackable and get your degree eventually. So that's the idea. So that was one of the offshoots. We also found out that we were part of the Coursera, and Nancy, we have to talk about that because this connects with exactly what you were talking about a little bit. So the SCSU, and I think the whole system has this agreement with Coursera for all these Google certs. So I blasted it out to our 400 majors and I say, hey, these are free courses. And you guys need to, like you're going on winter break, don't think you're sitting idle. You got to go get these certs. So look at the percentages that went up on the courses. We had only a handful. And then these are 110 completions since I announced this back in December. And you can see in the winter months, they're really active. And so we have 110 completions of the certifications through these nine courses in the Coursera free account. It's like a $50 a month deal, and students get it for free. So that was great. And we shot up from like, I don't know, 0 enrollment to 377 students are now enrolled in this. We have 500 seats, so we're still pushing. It's available to our alumni. It's available to students in not just computer science, but anyone associated with the university. Okay, and then Mehdi calls me in the middle of the night, and he's like, Lisa, we're applying for a grant, the Gen Cyber, and we want to create a coalition, so will you join us? And like, how do you say no to him? And so I said, all right, we'll do it. And then, of course, I'm a night owl. We were talking about this last kind of happy hour after one of these. And I would message him at 2 a.m, writing this thing, like, why did I say yes to this? But anyway, we're really close to getting this submitted. So thanks to TTA for allowing the networking to happen. And I think there's another party after this or something, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, here's where we need some help. I'm probably over my 8 minutes. But we're like, what happens when the AWS certifications expire? And it may be like, oh, so it's a year old, you could still take it. But we have students come back to us. We give a perseverance award out. A student came back to, and we just gave it to him. He started our program last century, right? And so he spoke to the students and he says, there was no mobile phones. There was no World Wide Web when I started, right? So can you imagine trying to map some of the courses he took way back when into our current curriculum that's changed like 10 times? So I'm worried about this. What happens if someone has a certification that's expired, and what's that little window that we would allow? And then if anyone knows of other credit equivalents for AWS, maybe, Nancy, they come through your program and they want to continue for, I don't know. We partner with everyone and make things work. So I think that's it.
Okay, so I came into this a little bit thinking the certificates a little bit hesitant, but I thought after this whole experience, I had 7 students go through the Foundation of Cybersecurity through Coursera, and I think they learned a lot. So a couple more slides. So we're at University of Connecticut and Stanford, an urban campus, and so we were looking at working with industry, the value, and I tried to figure out the value of certifications. Years ago, I remember those industry certifications which were mostly ignored, at least on the industrial side. But today, I think they're much, much better. I'm very impressed by them. So I had a survey I gave the students. One thing that was concerning to me was the number of hours they'd spend, if we go a few more. And the website says about 140 hours for the certification. The students reported a lot less, but I didn't do any scientific work on this, but we have a couple more slides. So here's the students I had. I had 5 juniors, 1 senior, 1 sophomore, and they seem to cruise fairly quickly. So we'll just maybe go through this. So here's some 7 students I have these little questions. So they say most of them say it's easier. Some say it's similar, sophisticated, roughly speaking. Yes, the topic was just right. So they actually learned a lot. We met every week and discussed what they learned, and I think it was a good course. In fact, going through it, I was somewhat impressed. One thing I noticed, though, and this is a side piece that I heard pieces of this in the puzzle, is I have 4 former students who I've actually put into 2 different startups, and recently I put one of the students in the startup has a master's degree, and he's looking very much for what I saw in this course: dependability, no uncertainty. And yet, in my experience on the industrial side, and certainly the startup side, is it's all uncertainty. Okay, so I think that so I was thinking, what could we add to this certificate to make it more realistic, closer to industry, and yet a little more challenging, is what I heard from the students. It could be a little more challenging. I think we throw in uncertainty in there, in the sense that right now with rate your professor and all these other things, people want to give the students the proper rubric, and this is how you cross your T, and this is how you dot your I's, and that's not much of a course historically. And years ago, faculty got away with it by saying, hey, I got to do all this research and write these proposals, so there'll be uncertainty in my class because I just don't have time to specify it, which actually helped students, I think, in a perverse way on the industrial side. And so this one student who I was stunned by came to me. He has an undergraduate with honors, master's degree. His feeling about uncertainty is difficult. He really wanted certainty in this startup, and that's the last place you'll get it. And so I think that if we could take this course was very certain, had a lot of certainty. Here's the glide path, here's what we're doing, here's the quiz, here's the setup. You know the quiz questions will be very closely related. A lot of certainty, which is great because you get the quick transfer of knowledge, but not realistic, in my opinion, in my experience. So I think what we could do is take something like this and add reasonable uncertainty. Don't go nuts, but add some. Here's a problem. Now you've taken this course halfway through, or maybe every week we even have an extra uncertain problem. Take those skills, and here's something that's not quite going to fit those skills, but roughly speaking, try it, do it. We're going to grade you on it, and it's going to be tough, blah blah. This course said it was 140 hours. If you go up a little more, the students reported. One student said it did take about 10 hours a week. It's 14 weeks, but a bunch of them said quite a bit less. Again, this is all unscientific. I have no way to measure this. This is just a survey I did with students. I try to do some self-consistency testing, like how many hours did you spend on the videos, how many on the quizzes. They don't add up, by the way. So, so there is some inconsistency here, and I need to work with a statistician to get a quiz, something like this more realistic and proper. However, the big lesson I learned is just that course is actually very comprehensive, very good. Maybe a little bit too easy. But if we added uncertainty to it, I think it would really pack a punch for what we could do. So that was my full experience. Questions, thoughts?
Did they get academic credit for that?
They did. I did through an independent study, and so I just kind of snuck it in that way. And now here's the funny part: the lowest score anybody got in any of the quizzes throughout the whole thing was 89. And so when I often run big independent studies, I actually do hand out non-A grades. Okay, and what I do is. Some people don't. Some people, in a study, you get an A, And I don't. What I do is I actually have the students report weekly what they do, and I try to write a sentence or two every week. That's 8 points out of 10. 6 points out of 10. Blah blah. And so I actually do give out. I've even got a C on a rare occasion in an independent study. This time they all got A's because the scores are so high, and that's also I think because of lack of uncertainty. Okay, so it was you go through the videos and you do some very elementary exercises and the questions following. You think about it. Okay, there it is. Boom. I think if we added uncertainty, we could make it more challenging. So you get a maybe more realistic spread of the scores as well. It's not everybody is in the A range in reality, but these were good students nonetheless. So I'm not saying anything negative there, but I think that it could be different. So anyway, these are some comments from the students, and. So a couple of students thought it was great. And also it lacked any uncertainty, so I think that's a thing that I want to emphasize. And it's a hard track. Other questions, thoughts?
Would a course like that benefit from, say, capstone project?
It's a great.
Is that too much?
I think that's a great question. I actually have a struggle with we have a senior design project, and there's a struggle that I'm having with it right now with the university because they want the teams to be too large. And so when you, as everybody knows in here, from both the academic and industrial sides, when you have more than like 3 people on a team, somebody gets cut out, somebody hides, you know, whatever. And 2 or 3 is the right number. So it could, but co-learning is a different thing. So I want to be a little bit careful. I was looking more, it's a great question, I was looking more, can this replace a course? I think it can. I think if we had uncertainty, it'll be much more strong, especially towards the industrial side. And also the academic side. If you're doing research, it's all uncertainty. I mean, you know, that's all it is. I mean, you know, to some degree, with strong foundations. You're in an industrial challenge, it's all uncertainty with strong foundations. So it's a very similar notion.
Thank you so much, Phil.